Hello on this beautiful, terrific Thursday. It is Thursday, and a couple of my clients needed to reschedule today, so it opened up my calendar for the morning. And I wanted to just share something this morning when it comes to leadership. And I'm going to couple it with health because yesterday I saw a new oncologist. And when I posted my last video, I talked about the importance of just how do we hear the Lord, following the Lord. I shared my book that I woke up thinking about and listening. And today I want to go a little deeper with that, but I want to couple it with leadership and health because of the conversation I had yesterday with this new oncologist. Now, let me just say on the front end, for those of you who have been on this life journey with me, you know that I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer June of 2025. And then in November of 2023, they diagnosed a mutation of that breast cancer that had returned. And so I'm just going to again, talk through what's important. If you want to know more, you can reach out to me. There are posts on my social media pages. But I just really want to talk today about leadership, what it means to advocate for yourself, and the privilege I have. I'll tell you why this is important to me. The privilege I have with my clients is I get to talk through their life and leadership and how their life intertwines with their leadership. And so at Giant, we have what we call a leader intensive, where we get to unpack leaders' story and we connect their life with leadership, their upbringing, how they're wired, how they were raised, because we don't many times think those things impact our leadership, but they do. And so this is why I want to share this, because I think it's so important for us to be able to connect the dots. So yesterday, I go to meet with a new oncologist. And to be honest with you, when I got the diagnosis in November, I wanted to change oncologist. I wanted to just cut ties for various reasons. But I'll just say that I knew 6 months prior something was going on different in my body. And as a result of many times doctors trying to figure out what's the best path, um, one of the reasons I tell people you have to advocate for yourself is because they're doing the best they can, but you know your body better than anyone else. And I knew my body. But my doctors, my other team of doctors, my PCP, the lung doctor, other doctors said, look, now it's not the time to change oncologists. You need treatment. At that point, I'd lost over 60 pounds. I could not drive. And so I get it. Like, I understood what they said. I got treatment. They were like, you need treatment. And so I started the treatment plan. But if I'm honest, I never had peace about it, staying with this particular oncologist, not because they're a mean person, but me, Chandra, needs a specific kind of care. And many of us do. When I say specific, to me, it's a low level that we should be able to be heard, to be seen, to be valued, right? If you've had any of my training, you know that's a mantra at Giant. We want every person to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, right? So, long story short, I start the treatment. Treatment does what it's supposed to do. It works. But all through last year, I still knew I wanted to change oncologist. And in my heart, I did not have peace. I just still didn't have peace. I'm going to the appointments, I'm doing what I'm asked to do, but I felt like something was still off. And that's the best way I can describe it. And I'm going to describe it that way and leave it that way because I think sometimes we feel like we have to have all the information, right? I am not an oncologist, but I know my body. I know myself. I understand how I'm wired. And I will say to you who is listening, if there's something that feels off with you, with your child, with your job, right? With a partner, right? With a business deal, with buying a house, with buying a car. I always tell people pause until you have peace. if you don't have peace, don't move forward. And at 60 years old, I've learned I don't have to explain everything. I can just say, this is not a good fit for me, or I don't have peace about this. I'm not ready to move forward. I need more time to think about this. And I will tell you, one of the scriptures that has for me been an anchor has been Colossians 3:15. And in Colossians 3:15 says, and let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which indeed you are called in one body, and be thankful, right? And we can get in a cold conversation. I'm not doing that today about our hearts, right? Because for many of us who've been raised in the church, all we know is that we've been told our heart is desperately wicked. But if the Lord says to love him with all of your heart, am I loving him with a wicked heart too? And if I'm praying for God to create in me a clean heart, did he create a clean heart in me? You see why we could go with this, but I'm not doing that today because I want to talk about leadership and health. But this, I know in my heart, sometimes I don't have peace. When I meet people, I don't have peace. When my granddaughters don't feel comfortable with people, trust me, you're not going to hug them. If they don't have peace about it, I don't have peace about it. I'm not doing that. Okay. Why is it important to trust what you sense and what you feel, right? Because Proverbs 4:23, we all know it, right? Guard your heart above all else, right? For it is the source of life, right? One translation says, out of it flows the issues of life, right? So if I'm not being sensitive to my heart, one author says, our heart gives voice to our feelings, right? So if I'm not listening to that, I could put myself in a very bad place. All right. Which led to coming into this year saying, yet again, I want a new oncologist. So I had the conversation with my oncologist. And I said, hey, I just feel like how you care for your patients, how you work and how you do what you do. Um, it's good, but I'm looking for something different. And I want to have more conversation. I want to have more authenticity. I'm willing to hear the hard stuff. I just want to know truth as I step down and go into this next phase, right? He gave me some referrals, was very gracious, very apologetic. And it wasn't about condemnation. It was about, this is what Chandra needs, right? So I asked for some specific things to be done. It's taken some time, but at my last appointment, based on some things that occurred, I just said, I'm finished. I reached out to my son. We had a conversation. I got a referral. I get to this appointment yesterday, and I love it, even though some of the things that she shared with me, I'm still processing. It was hard to hear. Hear me. It was hard to hear, even though I knew it was the truth. Okay. She came in. She said, I'm very straightforward. We're going to just talk as if I don't know anything. Tell me what got you here, why you're here in this office. Tell me a little bit about your history. And then I'm just going to tell you based on the numbers, the tests you've done. She said, and I'll tell you on the front end, you don't have anything to be worried about. Nothing's changed. Like, you're good. Anything that you face, we can treat. Everything is treatable. So she just very straightforward begins to tell me everything. Now, I never go to a doctor's appointment without a list of questions, and I would encourage you never go without a list of questions. Never, ever, ever. New doctor, old doctor, I'm observing everything. I want to understand the test you're taking. I want to understand my blood work. Yes, I do look at that. If numbers change, if there are markers they're looking at, I'm looking at them. I want to understand them. And so we have this very intense conversation. And here's where the leadership comes in, because in Giant, we do what we call the support challenge matrix. It's one of our tools. It's one of our favorites. I like it because when I go into organizations and we begin to look at culture, right? If a leader is very high support, but doesn't like to bring challenge, right? And I'll show you here shortly, we create what we call a culture of protect, which over time leads to entitlement. If a leader is very dominating, high challenge, low support, over time, it's a culture of fear, manipulation. In other words, people are compliant. They're afraid if they don't show up to work, they won't get paid, right? I'm going to get fired, right? They're working, but they're afraid, right? How does this connect in with this oncologist conversation yesterday and the previous oncologist I had? My previous oncologist, if I were to plot him, I would plot him protect, high support. Because for many of us as leaders, we don't want to have the hard conversation. We don't want to discuss, here's an opportunity for you to grow, or here's a pattern I've seen consistently in your behavior that's affecting your performance, or the conversation that this oncologist had with me yesterday to tell me things to say, Chandra, there are some things for the rest of your life that may never change. And with that, we're going to make a decision based on the data. I'll call it the data, the tests, the things, right? Of what that's going to look like for you to have a long life. But just know that it's going to look different for you because your body has been compromised. That's the best way I can put it. Okay. So when we look at leadership and we have leaders who do that, right? If we stay in that space of just support and not challenge, or sharing information but not sharing the hard stuff, the truth is, for me, I could die early. People could leave sooner if we don't do the part of bringing support and challenge. So let's talk about it. So this is our support challenge matrix, and you see the four quadrants. You see far left, protect. I talked about high support, low challenge. And it is, I'm for you, you're doing the work. uh, I'm going to give you a pass, you missed another deadline, right? I really like you, you're valuable to the team, but I don't want to overstep. I don't want you to not like me as a leader. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to, whatever that is that causes us not to bring the challenge, creates this protect. If we swing the bottom, I've already mentioned dominate, right? Get it done. I don't care how you get it done. You got a degree. You've been at this job. Figure it out. You figure it out, right? Dominate. Then the abdicate. When I was an engineer, we would say, "Oh, that person has quit and stayed," right? In other words, there's low challenge, low support. They either are tenured, they've been here long enough. We're not going to bother them. We just kind of let that person do their thing. Or um, man, if you go talk to them, they mad all the time. So we just leave them alone, right? Or they're favored by somebody, right? They're one of the favorites, so we just kind of leave them. Well, what you get is a culture of apathy and low expectation, and that again, I want you to think about this affects everybody. This affects the culture, right? Our goal ultimately is liberate. And I will tell you, it is what I loved about the conversation yesterday with this new oncologist. Because even though at Giant we say, don't guess people's voice because we have an assessment, I'll drop it for you. It's free. We can talk about your leadership voice. When she told me, we've done leadership and we've done different things. I've done Strength Finder, I've done this. She said, and I'm a D. I knew, right? It gave me some insight as to how she leads. But here's what happened. Because I understood that, then in Giant, I'm a nurturer, creative connector. If you take the assessment, it'll make sense. Um, I knew, right, how to engage. And so before we left our time together, she was telling me about her daughters. Yes, she was. I can tell you about the youngest and the oldest, right? Because even though she may have had a very vision focused, pioneering, very driven, very blunt, very straightforward personality style, I could engage that. But I could also bring out her heart and what she loves about her family and her children. I could high support, high challenge. I could ask her questions, right? She was not bothered by them, right? She didn't dismiss them. And those are indicators for me when I'm with doctors. Do they dismiss me? Do they feel offended by my questions, right? And we can, again, take that to leadership. If your staff comes to you or you go to your leader and you have questions and they're offended, they dismiss it, they are like, enough already, you should know how to do this. I promise you can take it back to this tool and look at dominate, protect, liberate, abdicate. Where are they? And here's the good news. The good news, because I always talk longer than I plan to talk. Here's the good news is there are ways that you can become a better leader. You can grow. You can be more intentional. I just shared how I was able to engage this very dominating type personality type as someone who usually is the quietest in the room. Like D is not in my top, even on disc. It's not. I am an advocate for people. I am the quieter one. I can sit and observe, right? But over the years with Giant, I've learned how to bring high support and high challenge because I was protect. I was protect, 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 protect. Just kind and gracious and loving. And I've learned where to do that. But I've also learned how to receive high support and high challenge. And I'm going to close with a scripture because y'all know I'm doing this talking about Christian leadership, right? In Ephesians 4:15, Paul says, instead, speaking the truth in love. Now, we love to speak the truth in the church. Let me just say, folks love to speak the truth. But am I speaking it in love? And that's the support and the challenge, right? The truth is the challenge part. I've got to be able to tell you the truth about your leadership, about your work, how you are as a spouse, right? Like even couples don't like having hard conversations, right? It's communication. We don't want to have it with our children. We don't want to have it with our family. But here's what happens when we speak the truth in love. Paul says we will grow to become, in every respect, mature, the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ. So today, I want to encourage you in the health space, don't stop advocating for yourself. If you don't have peace about it, make a change. If you don't have peace about it, pause. Seek the Lord until you have peace. It could be hiring somebody and you're like, I don't know, something about this. I don't have peace about it. Trust the Holy Spirit. He's the spirit of truth. He's the spirit of truth, right? But then I'll say, as you're leading, and when you're either protect or abdicate or dominate, ask yourself, how can I move to liberation? Because if I really value this person and I really love this relationship and I really want to fight for the highest good, I want to bring support and challenge. And I had to look because that's our culture of empowerment and opportunity. I just had to go back, right? I talked about all the other, that is our culture of empowerment and opportunity. And when you bring support and challenge, even though I left that doctor's appointment, I called my sister and I said a few things because I was frustrated that I hadn't been given accurate information over the last year, a whole year. And some months have passed and I learned new information I had never been given. And then I learned that I wasn't even taking my medication properly. It is when I tell people it is the grace of God, it is the mercy of God that I have been kept. But I then said, Lord, I thank you that I did not stop listening to you, prodding me, pushing me to change. And so go out today and bring some support and challenge. Go out today and find peace in your heart and let it lead you. And above all, guard your heart because guess what? All the stuff in your life is flowing through it. Have a great Thursday.